Thank you very much. This meeting is being recorded. We will share the recording with everyone who has registered for this meeting, so you'll receive that probably tomorrow. And we welcome you here. We're very excited to share with you some information on building and sustaining a data-informed organization. A little bit about the Gardner Institute. If you're not familiar with us, we are a 25-year-old nonprofit. We're located in Western North Carolina in the Brevard, North Carolina. And we are an organization who works with institutions and other organizations to improve student success and the outcomes associated with teaching, learning, retention, and completion. And we are happy to have you here today. The community facilitators for this process are Brent Drake and Lihia Perez. Brent is unable to be with us today. He usually leads these information sessions. Unfortunately, he had a family emergency, but we're very excited to have Dr. Lihia Perez here today to sort of walk us through some information about the community. We want to make this interactive. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat or raise your hand, and we'll make sure we get to those questions. And now is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Perez and pass it over to her.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lihia Perez. And just to give you a little background on myself, I have over 20 years in higher education space. I've been an academic computing officer, as well as responsible for the institutional research office at the Charles I. Drew University, and created a computer-based learning center, training staff and faculty and students in use of technology. I've been a senior assistant analyst at the Information Systems Department with the City of Santa Monica, overseeing different IT implementations. I was not too long ago data analyst for the 20 departments of the Student Affairs Division at Texas A&M University, as well as Florida International University. I was the instructor of research methods and data analysis for the medical students and faculty in the medical school there at Florida International. So just a little bit of background on my side. And we have the big Y there, the puzzle, and Gardner Institute. And by the way, I've been with the Gardner Institute for about a year and a half. It's a wonderful organization and feel very privileged to work with this great team and the purpose of this institution. So the Gardner Institute has a partnership with different higher education institutions, and we use a survey called the Institutional Transformation Assessment, and it's based on several different kind of rubrics related to areas of the institution and the perceptions from those individuals. And from that survey, we kind of noticed that the area of technology, especially institutional research, was one of the areas that had the lowest score for all the different institutions that pretty much participated in the survey. So my colleagues and myself contributed to developing this particular community of practice on the data-informed culture to assist institutions to address the issues of using data for student success. So that's why we have this particular combination of 6 modules where we walk you through the different steps or phases of a data-informed culture in higher education, and then the rest of the time is for about a whole year where the institutions work in projects. Can I have the next slide, please? So this community, the community of practice, is basically the building and sustaining a data-informed Organization for Student Success is a year-long community of practice where the individuals from different institutions, they work as a team within the institution as well as learning from each other in this year-long learning experience. For us in Gardner Institute and pretty much around the higher ed space, a data informed tends to be one that uses the data to guide decision-making processes, shape strategies, and to inform any improvements for student success. Just want to make sure that pretty much this community of practice is based, not just data, but data for student success. And it will ensure that in the process, you get to know your own institution to whether there is an infrastructure so that faculty and staff and administrators at different levels of the organization can use the data, create performance indicators, assess those ones towards a student success. Next slide, please. So in this online community of practice, you'll be building a model for data-informed decision-making around student success. And you will pretty much assess your current state at the institution, identify the needs for that data that will inform the next steps for advancing student success. And we recommend that each institution has a team of between 5 to 10 members that should include the director of IR or a similar role. Any representative that has relationship with the data from academic affairs and student affairs. I have worked with both, mostly recently in student affairs. Representative from the IT area of the institution, particularly someone that has authority or leader to implement any projects or have more information about the IT systems that contribute to that team. We, of course, want to have at least one faculty member so that we have the perspective from the faculty members as well as staff and faculty that are data champions, those ones that are actually using the data, and they can be those ones that can inform this team as well as be able to bring into their own units or departments data literacy. Next one, please. So the approach for this community of practice, it has 6 modules. And those, at the beginning, there will be 2 meetings per month that will be addressing each one of these modules. In the module 1, pretty much the teams will be informing what they mean by data informed culture centered in student success in their institution. And one of the very first things that we want to make sure that you all do is either defining student success at your institution, or whether your institution already has a definition where it is. Identify that one. Is it in the strategic plan? It is at individual departments. And somehow bring this into this team so that it will become standardized for the rest of the institution. In module 2, you'll be defining and auditing the student success metrics. And we want to specifically focus on those metrics that they can make a difference, not just the retention and the graduation rate, those are there, but we want to emphasize leading indicators, those ones that you can do something about it, not after the student has been retained or not retained. So something that do they participate in programs that assist students with any of the issues of areas that they might have that impedes them to succeed. So we want to make sure that you are identifying those metrics and the systems that they have. So in module 3, you will be identifying your current systems that has student success data, not necessarily like the finance systems or the HR unless there is some data in there that relates to student success. In the module 4, there is somehow like and it's an overview because data governance is pretty broad and deep. So, but in this case, we want you to think about intentional data governance to determine the type of data that is needed, by whom, for what purpose, and how frequently to inform on student success efforts. So that would be like identify who collects the data, deciding where the data is collected, verifying data that it's collected by whom or if it has any errors in there, and solving any problems in the data system, or at least identify how that there are problems in the data system, as well as reviewing the access and the skills and knowledge of your stakeholders of the institution. And with that, then module 5 will be training your stakeholders to be aware of, access, and use student success data. And that means that the teams will be defining what it means to be a data literacy centered around student success within your institutional context, determining from the previous module what, when, how, and whom to develop the training aligned to the needs and the roles identified in module 4. Module 6, it basically brings everything together. You already know a lot of the different phases in this data-informed culture. And then it's like developing a plan for communicating what is a data-informed culture and how to generate or strengthen a communication plan about data-informed student success to the different stakeholders in your organization. So once you complete your 6 modules, what we want is to make sure that you select either one, perhaps no more than 2 topics within the different 6 modules that we have introduced you to, so that you will then, for the rest of the time of that community of practice, the year, that's where you're going to be focusing and creating a kind of like a capstone project that then you can implement. So we suggest that it will be something that is feasible within your organization. So with this, I will say to the next question, the next slide. So we already have a whole cohort of institutions that have participated, and they will be finishing in June, and they will be presenting their final project. And some of those projects include that they have established a data governance task force, and that task force, they focus on establishing the data literacy definitions. They are going to conduct or are in the midst of conducting existing data availability, what system has them, who is responsible for that. The same as building or creating an initial data dictionary so that they feel that they will have the same common language when they're communicating from unit to unit, department to department. Another institution has created a survey basically towards a developing more of data literacy and understand what are the data needs of different stakeholders. And that's the other institution has done. It's more advanced because they have a lot of dashboards. And now what they want to do is to make sure that specific stakeholders like deans, advisors, and faculty are aware and know how to use these different dashboards. And so what they have done is they embed themselves in different meetings or groups that have regular meetings to be able to share with them the different dashboards that the institution might have already created and identified as like, oh, you didn't know about this. This is what we have. Besides this, would you need something else? So identifying what kind of data the different stakeholders would have. And another institution decided to build a academic advising dashboard for their organization. So these are just examples and of some of the projects that the institutions are now doing. One that relevant outcome or takeaway from the first cohort is that because of these different institutions can be 4-year, can be 4-year research, 4-year mostly undergrad. We have also 2-year community colleges that they learn so much from each other. And when one already has done a lot of development in dashboard, someone that is trying to develop the dashboard or thinking about it, then there's a lot of communication as to, for example, what kind of software they use, what's their process to collect the data. So it's a lot of learning from other institutions. And it's, and I think it's a beautiful thing that I've seen in this particular first year. So next, please. So with this, Katie will give us the next steps.
Yes, of course, we always get people who want to know how to get involved in the community. And the community this year will start on July 17th and go through June 2026. As Leahia has said earlier, the first 6 synchronous meetings are held in about a 2-month period in July, August, and September, and then they go to a monthly meeting. So the applications we're asking, the preference is that we receive them by June 27th. People always want to know what's in the application. It's about 4 questions, and it's not really an application to see if you have earned the right to be in the community, but really is to make sure that your goals from joining the community align with what happens in the community. And we have the fees listed here. They are based on your undergraduate enrollment as determined by College Navigator. If you are interested in doing this for a college, for instance, within a university, we can adjust that based on that enrollment. If you are from one of our transformation schools, these fees do not apply. The cost for participating is in that transformation fee. So if anyone has any questions about the fees, they can also be paid over split into 2 fiscal years, if that makes it easier for an institution to pay for it. So if there's any questions about this, please let us know. You can always reach out to us at info@gardnerinstitute.org. Those emails come to me, and if I can't answer your question, I will make sure that it gets to someone like Leahia who can. We always like to just provide you with a list of some of the other things that we do. We have, as you can see, very many processes and communities. Sometimes people get a little confused as to where they should begin or what they want to do, or they hear about the transformation process and they want to know more about that. So we're happy to answer any of those questions or have a conversation with you or you and your colleagues to determine where is the best place for you to start with the Gardner Institute. So now we would like to answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we would encourage you to use the chat box or raise your hand, and we can ask my colleague Brittany to unmute you and ask your question. So Leah, I'm going to ask a question to get started. People always want to know how much time should they plan on needing to participate in the community?
Okay, great. That's a great question. Thank you, Katie. Yes, our meetings are about an hour and a half. And we have a support from the Brightspace, which is a learning management system in which we will have basically a project planning guide. It's a document that will help you kind of fill out. We have prompts and questions so that you can just build from one module to the next. And that way, when you get to the end of the last module, you will have somehow an idea by then as to what kind of project you will want to engage. And it's about an hour and a half. Sometimes might be just a few minutes more, hours, so a few minutes less. And we see that it has helped a lot for people to have enough time to discuss, especially if we have an institution that has a lot of participants in the community. So sometimes are divided into groups so that they can kind of discuss a particular prompt that we might have, and then we all come and do a share out. And everybody is learning. It's one of the things that people enjoyed the most, I think, of coming to a synchronous discussions session.
Excellent.
And if I might add, so sometimes we do have our kind of like experts that are part of the Gardner Institute, that they're an IR director, that they want to share their experience and as to what they have done in that particular module.
Excellent. We have quite a few questions. So I'm going to go ahead and answer the first one. The question is, as far as the fee, if a department or college within an institution is interested in joining, could the fee be based on the department college enrollment instead of the entire institution? Yes, absolutely. Just let us know and we'll work with you on determining what that would be. Next question was, will you email the presentation and webinar? Yes, we will. We will email the recording as well as the slides to everyone who's registered. And what is a transformation school? Transforming the foundational post-secondary experience is our 5-year process where we work with institutions who are really looking to take a deep dive into sort of all aspects of student success. Oh, thank you. And I see my colleague Brittany has put a link to it here. And if that is something you're interested in, and this is part of that process for many institutions, we would be happy to have set up some time and have a discussion with you and give you some more information about that. The next question is, how many institutions participate in a cohort? Leah, how many participated in the first cohort?
Right now we have 6 that participated in the data informed culture, and but those institutions that are part of the transformation process, they're committed for 5 years. So when they are going through the process of sense making, they first do the institutional transformation assessment survey, and then they decide and create priority as to what of the different options in terms of making sure that their faculty or staff or the people that are part of the transformation process, they create priorities as to any of those academies or communities of practice the institution are going to do during their first year or second year or third year. So some institutions, what they have done is that they have different groups to go into an academy. And for our transformation institutions, we have now like close to 20, 6 decided to do it on the first year.
Thank you. And this year, I know we will have institutions both who are part of the transformation process and institutions who are not. I know we have one institution who was just accepted today, which is a community college from New York. So it's a variety of institutions, which provides, I think, a lot of nice diversity for the participants.
Yes, and I would say those ones that are not necessarily part of the transformation institution cohort, that they will actually gain the most because they will be listening to all the different experiences that the institutions that are participating in all the different learning experiences, the academies, then they shared all that information within this context. So it's not just only data for student success. It might be, well, in our teaching and learning experience, we found that if we share this data, it also adds to that other group that is dealing or experiencing the informed data informed culture.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So other questions?
Can I ask questions?
You can.
I was kind of curious among the participants in here, how many have already done data dictionary, or that they have a data governance in place?
It's an excellent question. Feel free to respond to that in the chat.
Nobody? Well, just kind of curious as to, because we do have people that have actually developed like data governance, but they are feeling that data literacy is not as advanced as they feel that it could be, and they join this community to do specifically that. And we have some institutions that they decided that they're going to focus on the data literacy part, which is making their stakeholders, faculty, deans, even the presidents of the provost, being aware of all the different options in terms of knowing about their student success data that is available to them.
Yes, so we have Eric Campbell has said they do have data information structure. And Carrie Rose asked, have we worked with any Texas schools and also Aleutian schools? So I don't think we have any Texas schools in the first cohort.
Not in the first cohort, yes, but actually next week, a colleague and myself are going to Frank Phillips, that is one of the transformation institution, and they'll be joining this particular community of practice sometimes at the end of this year, I believe. So we do have, and there's going to be about 6 new institutions from Texas that also are kind of in the process of joining the Gartner Institute partnership for student success.
And we have, I think we've worked with at least 20 schools in other processes over the 25 years. I know we have a long relationship with schools like the University of Houston, Houston Community Colleges. Frank Phillips is an institution we've worked with a lot. So we do have a lot of connections and relationships with Texas schools. And I will say, if anybody would like to speak to a school who has participated in this particular community of practice, to just get a feel for what it's like, we would be happy to make that arrangement for you. And Robin Kiesling said, I think that data literacy for all stakeholders is always a challenge.
It is. We all can agree on that one. I think that part of this community of practice, and we have a module 5, and I actually do module 5 that has to do with the data literacy. We want to make sure that it's connected to student success, because there's like pretty much most institutions nowadays, if they participate in IPEDS, which I would say 90% or so institutions would do, they can see the data either in the institution's website as a dashboards, or the College Navigator, as well as in the website of the government, Department of Education. They can see very broad student data, but we want to make sure that it's about student success, which means that it's all the data that is predictors rather than already kind of like you can't really do anything about a student that was retained or not retained. It's already passed. So it's that leading indicator data that is kind of more of live data that faculty, students, deans can do something about it. Even in the student fairs, they can do something before the student ends the semester or before the student ends the year. So
Excellent.
teaching or creating instructional materials to for that data literacy for student success, because it's going to be more of a challenge, because sometimes our stakeholders in higher education might not be aware that exist. Not too long ago, we went to do a sense-making session at an institution in Chicago, and in the same table, we have the IR person and a faculty member. And before I go to the institution, I'm looking at their institutional research office and as well as whatever data is available. And I say, oh, they have all these things. And I go to that institution. This faculty has been there for years, at least 10, and she was not aware of it. And next to her is the IR person, and there's no communication. So this is part of what this learning experience in this community of practice is. Well, IR, it tends to be like 1 or 2 people, depending on the size of the institution. But how can IR and this team of different representative of different stakeholders within the institution can come together, because 1 or 2 people cannot do it, but as a group, committee, team, they can do something like, well, how can we work with the, let's say, instructional technology people in our institution to develop training material so that this faculty that is here becomes aware that this data exists. So that's part of what we learn, because we're all learning that this is a great opportunity to, like, how can develop strategies, how others have done about it.
Excellent. Yes, we've heard for years, I think, because we do a lot of work with faculty and IR, and a lot of times it's bridging that gap. The information is there. How do we get it to faculty and staff in ways that are useful and meaningful to them? So this is a great opportunity to create those pathways. So other questions? We often stop the recording before we end the session, just so if anybody wants to ask a question and not have it recorded, you can do that as well. So Brittany, if you don't mind stopping the recording.